Howdy folks, my name is Richie Procopio for Massively.com, and I'm in the Neverwinter beta, and I'd like to go over the powers and abilities that each of the classes we're able to look at, how they all work, and how you basically just, slot them in and choose your abilities. So let's get to it. I'm going to hit C to go into my character pane, and this is pretty typical. You've got your ability scores over here on the right, and your what you have equipped over here on the left. But I'm going to go into this power section. And as you can see here, I have a couple different sections, and you unlock these just by leveling up. So I unlocked Bloodbath at level 4, Lurker's Assault at level 8, and Whirlwind of Blades at level 11. And you can see Bloodbath actually kind of ranks up at level 14, so it gets better, but it's the same power here. And basically what you do is you have these different sections of your interface down here. This is where I can select my daily powers. These are encounter abilities, and these are my at-will abilities. And I'll kind of go through each one of these. Now, at-will abilities are assigned to your left and right click. Right now, if I hold down my left mouse button, or if I click it repeatedly, it does this kind of action. That's because the ability I have slotted in there is called Sly Flourish. Now, this character I'm playing right now is a Trickster Rogue, so Sly Flourish is a distracting flourish of your blades. And if I hold down right click, it does this sequence. And it actually has a little bit of a stealth component at the end there. And my right click is an at-will ability called Duelist Flurry, right? And this is slashes that actually stack up a bleed effect. So you can actually, if we go back into where the powers were, you can see I have an at-will section here, and you can kind of change what your left click and right click does, but you have to, choose one of these green abilities over here. I have another one called Cloud of Steel, which is more of a slightly ranged ability. All right, now you have encounter level abilities that you can slot into Q, E, and R, and these are abilities that have a little bit of a cooldown. Okay, they can't be used. You can't just spam them. They have a bit of a cooldown. And so they kind of make up a little slightly more powerful stuff you want to use strategically. And then you have daily powers. Now, I think they might rename this. They said this is kind of a holdover from the actual pen and paper Dungeons and Dragons, where they they have daily powers in that. These are not. You can use these more than once per day. What happens is, as you're fighting, you're filling up this 20-sided die here, and you're getting action points. And when this is at 100%, it's glowing like it is now, I can actually use one of my daily powers. Now, I only have one slot where I can put a daily power in, but eventually, when you're high enough level, you'll have 2 daily powers that you can slot in here, so you can kind of choose which one you're going to blow this power on. Now, when I use this ability, and I'll show you this in a minute. Actually, I don't think I can show you this. I think I have to have an enemy targeted. It won't actually go away. But when I activate this will actually drain out, and then it will slowly build up as I'm fighting creatures, and so you can use it every few encounters or something. It's kind of like an ultimate ability or so. So that's how most of that works. You get to basically choose, eventually when you're high enough level, you'll have the 2 dailies, the 3 encounter abilities, and then you have your at-will. And so it is a restricted, you don't have to, it kind of plays a little bit more like a Diablo style, or even a MOBA, where you have that limited skill set of stuff, but you have a lot of options in the in your character window. But when you equip them to go into a dungeon or whatever, you're kind of it pares it down quite a bit. So it's nice on the one hand. You don't have like a World of Warcraft situation where you have like 30 different things you need key bindings for, you need to remember, and it's kind of confusing. On the other hand, you might feel like there's not much variety when you're actually in combat, because you selected your skills out of the ones that you want, and you kind of hit the same 4 or 5 buttons quite frequently. So that's how that actually works. Now, each class also has a couple other things that they do. Right now on the Trickster Rogue, I can use stealth by hitting tab, and this allows me to get combat advantage and disappear for 5 seconds. And a lot of the abilities are stronger when I'm in stealth. So for example, the Lashing Blade deals additional 50% damage if I'm in stealth. Bait and Switch refills my stealth bar if I'm in stealth, and if I do a Dazing Strike while I'm in stealth, the activation time is reduced by 50%. So a lot of that, and I'll show you what this looks like here. I hit that, and I can kind of move around invisibly for a few seconds, and that's really kind of neat to do that as a Trickster Rogue. Okay, so that's how that kind of works. Now, let me go back into the screen here. We've got so we've got a bunch of options. You can see when you're going to unlock what. You can kind of scroll down these different trees. You have your class abilities, which I kind of just described. Now, stealth is there. Sneak attack increases your physical damage by 25% while you're in stealth. All right, and then you have some general abilities, and a lot of these come from the race you picked. Okay, so you know, since I'm a tiefling, I get Infernal Wrath and Blood Hunt, and Thievery comes from the actual class I have. So these are just kind of general things. Now, in this feat section, this is kind of like, you know, a talent tree that you would find in a lot of MMOs. You can see right now I have 7 points available, and you can kind of spend them in these trees. I'm just giving an example of some of the stuff in here. So you get bonus action points for dealing combat advantage damage. So this will actually let me fill up my 20-sided die here so I can use my daily powers more frequently. This gives me a critical hit chance increase, and this is, you know, if I want to make more of a survivable build here, I can kind of go down the toughness. Now, so let's just say I want to slot, I want extra crit here, go down this path, and then I'll put 2 points over here. Now I've unlocked the next one. Okay, my stamina regenerates faster. That allows me to dodge. You create less threat, so you don't pull aggro, and you can deal more damage for 6 seconds after leaving stealth. Now, eventually, after I kind of go down this path, you see I'll eventually be able to go down one of these paragon trees. Okay, so I can kind of become a saboteur and actually have more stealth damage. A scoundrel gives you predictable damage, and an executioner, it's big crit, spiky damage. So you can actually view these trees down here. And so you do have quite a bit of options to go down and customize your character. Okay, another thing that's kind of different per character is I can actually double tap. You can see right above the action points here, you see this little bar. It's kind of like the dodge meter. And if I double tap a direction, I can kind of dodge and you know, avoid damage. So, and that meter will refill over time. So I can't just dodge constantly, but, you know, it's there in an emergency situation, and you can kind of use it tactically. Okay, let's give you an example of how combat works with the Trickster Rogue. I'll just briefly go over what abilities I have slotted in here. My daily power is called Bloodbath, which will make me flash around the battlefield and hit a whole bunch of enemies at once. They are slowed and open to combat advantage during this time. I have Lashing Blade, which focuses your strength into one furious attack, big damage. Bait and Switch allows me to dodge backwards and create a decoy that the enemies will attack, so then I can swap around to the back of them and get combat advantage. Dazing Strike, snap into the air, catching your opponent with a crushing blow in the head. It leaves them dazed. All right, and then we have the Sly Flourish on my left click, and the Duelist Flurry, which does a bleed on my right click. So that's kind of how I'm going to go into combat here, so let's get to it. We've got some nasty undead baddies over here. I'm going to go into stealth, and here we go. All right, I'm going to use my daily power on this next pack of creatures over here, which looks to be a little bit more powerful. Alright, I have a wolf companion here, so don't get confused by that. That's a good guy. Alright, here we go. I'm going to jump in, I'm going to decoy. And they'll all attack my decoy. I'm going to stealth around the back and hit them with my daily power. Okay, that did a lot of damage. Now I'm going to hit R, jump in the air, stays this big guy. Slash him in the back while he's working on the decoy. I'm going to hit Q for big damage. Okay, take him out, and then we'll finish off this zombie rotter right there. Okay, let's take a look at the Guardian Fighter class here. We're going to jump in and look at the feat section. We have the Paragon tree. You can actually go down the Conqueror path, the Guardian path, and the Tactician. They each have their own different trees here. It says here that the Conqueror is enhance your damage dealing powers and use criticals and combat advantage to gain the edge in a fight, so it's a little bit more offensive in nature. And the Guardian is a little bit more defensive. You excel in taking big hits and protecting your party from harm. And the Tactician is constantly thinking and planning. Lots of control and threat feats allow you to keep foes right where you want them. You can see a couple of the first tier Guardian Fighter feat points. I actually don't have any to spend at the moment, but you can see here what they do. And I'm going to actually look at the build I have right now for the Guardian Fighter. My daily power is Villain's Menace. It deals damage to all foes near me and increases all damage done for the next 8, 10, or 12 seconds. I also become immune to damage, which is very nice. My Q ability, this is one of my encounter abilities, called Lunging Strike. Okay, this is like a gap closer. You get right into the action very quickly. Enforced Threat is basically an AoE taunt that also does damage. Griffin's Wrath, you can deal several overhand blows down on my foe and my target is stunned. And then my left click, I'm sorry, is a Cleave that's at will. I can just hit a whole bunch of enemies in front of me, and my right click is like a shield bash that actually weakens the target. Alright, I don't have a tab ability unlocked on the Guardian Fighter at this time, but I do have the ability to actually block. If I hold down the shift key, this will actually block incoming attacks, and when I'm in combat I actually have like a block meter, so I can actually avoid damage for actually a fairly lengthy period of time just by holding that down. So if you grab aggro as a Guardian Fighter and then hold that down, it could really save your healers from having to, you know, throw a lot of attention your way. So I'm going to look over here and try to get into a fight, and I'll show you what the abilities look like here. So I'll attack these guys. Look, I'm going to hold down the block here. You can see there's a meter on the left of my character. It's like a blue little arch there, and you can kind of hold this down for a while, which is interesting. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to shield bash them to weaken them. Okay, that's my at will on my right. I can do my at will on my left and take these guys down fairly quickly. Let's see if we can find any more enemies so we can demonstrate the rest of the power. Alright, E is an AoE taunt that does damage. Here we go. Okay. Here comes R. This is a big smash, and then we're going to do the Q ability, followed by the daily. There we go. Alright, I'm going to engage this group over here to show you the rest of the other powers. I'm going to use my Q ability to actually gap close. Hopefully I don't get stopped by this terrain here, but you can see this is an effective charge. I actually one-shotted that guy with it, and then I can do the overhand smash with the stun. And yeah, these enemies are kind of a little bit weak, I guess, because they're dying with one hit, but you can see how this works. I'm going to do the gap close again on this guy, and then an AoE taunt. There's the taunt. And there we go. Just finish them off with shield bashes, and this guy's a little bit tougher. I can actually block him. Now you can't double tap to dodge with the Guardian Fighter like you can on the Trickster Rogue, but you don't really need to with the blocking mechanic. And there you have it, Guardian Fighter. Okay, let's take a quick look at the third and final class that is available in this beta test. This is the Devoted Cleric. Now there are actually two other classes we're aware of, the Control Wizard and the Great Weapon Fighter, but as I said, they're not available. Let's take a look at the feats. I don't have any points to spend in here yet, but we'll just look at the first tier. The healing action gives you more action points whenever you use a healing ability. You have condition durations are increased, and you have toughness. Okay, there are 3 Paragon paths. The Virtuous is kind of more damage dealing. The Faithful is more of a traditional heal spec, and the Righteous is more tactical, and they use temporary hit points and frequent shifting to increase survivability, which is interesting. Let's take a look at my current power loadout here. My left click is going to be Lance of Faith. It is actually a ranged attack. It's interesting that the Cleric, the Devoted Cleric by default, is more of a ranger, a ranged profession or class in this game, whereas traditionally in Dungeons and Dragons, a lot of times the Cleric is, wears plate mail, smacks people with a mace, is right there up in front of the combat. This one is definitely designed to be more of a ranged castery type. Astral Seal is my right-click at-will ability, and this will do some damage, but also put a debuff on the enemy, so that any time that I'm doing damage or my allies are doing damage to this target, we actually get healed. So I like that ability a lot. It's like a passive healing. You can actually do healing while you're being offensive with the Cleric, which is kind of fun. Now my encounter abilities, I have Sunburst, which is an AoE light that burns and restores hit points. Okay, over here we have Healing Word, which is a heal over time that I can put on myself or an ally. And there are 3 charges to this, so I can use them rapidly back to back, but after the 3rd charge I have to wait for the cooldown to kind of reset those charges. The 3rd encounter ability is Searing Light. It throws a powerful beam of light through targets in front of me, and it does a bunch of damage. Now, my daily power is Guardian of Faith. It calls down an angel to smite my foe, dealing damage, knocking down your target, and as the angel ascends, it restores hit points for my allies. So let's take a look at what these look like in-game. We go find some bad guys. Alright, now I'm going to lead off with the Astral Seal, and you'll see it puts an aura around them, so while I'm hitting that target, I'm actually healing up. I'm going to use my Q ability to do an AoE damage to all these people around me. I'm going to put the heal over time effect on myself so that I can resist some of the damage they're putting out. And the Cleric can double tap to dodge, which is kind of interesting, kind of like the Thief. And again, there's a little stamina bar above the little action point dice, so that I can't just dodge whenever I want. I'm going to find some tougher foes, and then we're going to actually launch our daily attack power on them, and see what the angel looks like when it comes down and does its avenging wrath. Alright, so here we go. Here's a bigger fight with some tough guys. We're going to lead right in with the number 1 key. The angel knocks him down, get a bunch of damage. I'm going to do Q to do the AoE. Gotta put a heal over time on myself. Now, I don't think we've seen R yet. Okay, that's what that looks like. And now we're gonna finish these guys off with Animal Seals. And of course the Lance. Big guys down. Okay, and there you have it. Overall, this is pretty fun to play. It's fun to play the Devoted Cleric at these low levels because you kind of have your own ability to keep yourself alive and heal, whereas the Thief especially has to rely on a lot of potions, I found, unless you're playing very, very tactfully. The Guardian Fighter has the advantage that they can just put up the shield all the time, and so you're not worried about taking as much damage, but it is fun to actually have this kind of ranged attack person who can actually put out a decent amount of damage while you're healing up. Now, one thing I'll say about the combat is it is built to be kind of an action combat game. They limit the number of abilities that you have to work on at once, and there is double tap to dodge for some of these classes, so it is tactical. But many, if not all, of the animations for attack root your character in place. So you can see here, while I'm firing these lances, I actually cannot move. I cannot circle around my enemy, and which would actually really do a lot to make it feel more like action combat friendly. It actually, did I just get milk? I did get milk. I feel like the rooted animations really kind of hinder the game. It does not feel fluid, especially if you're coming from a game like Guild Wars 2. You actually notice quite a bit that all 3 of the classes that we went over in this video, they feel the same way with that they lock you in place. See, right now I cannot move, I cannot strafe while I'm hitting any of these attack animations. So that's a bit of a shame. I hope they maybe rethink this because it is beta and things are subject to change. But that's basically the overall kind of how you set up your different powers and a brief description of some of the main abilities that you get at early levels for the Guardian Fighter, the Trickster Rogue, and the Devoted Cleric. I hope everybody enjoyed this video and hope everybody has a great day. Thank you.